HPAE is a union of more than 14,000 members, healthcare workers serving on the front lines of this pandemic. The tremendous amount of suffering and death was traumatizing to our healthcare workers, as our healthcare system quickly became overwhelmed and overrun. Patients became acutely ill so quickly that workers found themselves moving from one crisis to another in an attempt to save the sickest patients. The environment was truly like a war zone with mass casualties. As if this were not traumatizing enough, HPAE members, among other healthcare workers, were often unprotected in the workplace and thus were exposed to and infected with this terrifying illness. They then had the added worry of bringing COVID home to family members. Many of our healthcare workers contracted COVID. Some still suffer the long-lasting and debilitating after effects of the long hauler syndrome. Worst yet, in the battle against COVID-19, 7 of our members lost their lives.
Each one of these blessed souls, blessed lives, we pray and mourn with their families and friends, and God rest them all. As you know, since the end of the week, our flags around the state have been at half-mast.
We lost Alfredo Pavitow, a friendly transporter who worked at local 5030 Palisades Medical Center. His smile touched anyone fortunate enough to meet him. He was our first lost last year, and his wife, Susanna, died only a few days after him. Susan Cicala, an RN who worked in the prison system, was a beloved mother devoted to her family. Susan was a mentor in her workplace who made those who knew her feel comfortable and welcomed. Dr. Nagy Abraham worked in the laboratory at University Hospital for 11 years. He was an immigrant from Egypt who was an intelligent, kind-hearted, and humble man with a spirited personality. We remember another healthcare hero, George Cisnero, who, along with his wife, moved to New Jersey from the Philippines 11 years ago. He was an RN who worked at University Hospital and died in the first wave of the pandemic, along with his wife, Gina, also an RN. Nancy Martell was a beloved and active HPAE vice president at Local 5030. She was a fierce advocate for her members and a strong voice for patient and workplace safety. Maria Luisa Lopez, an RN of 11 years at Local 5185, is remembered as a kind and gentle woman of few words who rarely complained despite working 2 jobs to support her family. Cecilia Pasquale was an RN and member of Local 5004, Englewood Medical Center, who is remembered as a mentor and a model preceptor on her unit. She was always approachable, encouraging, upbeat, and welcoming to every coworker and patient. On September 28th of this year, we lost Bernard Cadaves. Bernard was an operating room nurse at Local 5105 for 20 years and is described by his coworkers as an awesome nurse, a great colleague, and a wonderful friend.
As we remember everyone we have lost, in their own ways, each wove a special thread into the vivid tapestry that is New Jersey.
COVID-19's toll exhibited in lives lost and relations severed forever feels unbearable at times. As the coronavirus continues to spread across the country, our members are still in the trenches, risking their lives and the lives of their families to care for patients suffering and still dying of this disease, even as the virus mutates into more virulent and resistant forms. Healthcare workers are critical resources in fighting infectious disease outbreaks, and it behooves us all to protect them. Protecting healthcare workers protects us all. We must learn from the mistakes made to better prepare for future outbreaks, and because we know this pandemic is far from over, we must work together with our employers, legislators, and policymakers to reduce the risk of exposure to our healthcare workers. Because a safer workplace for our members equates to a safer environment for patients, our families, and our communities. Our transport aide, Alfredo Pavitao, his wife, Susanna, registered nurse Susan Cicala, Dr. Nagy Abraham, registered nurse George Cisnero and his wife, Gina, Nancy Martel, Maria Luisa Lopez, and Cecilia Pasquale gave their lives caring for others. We must honor their legacy by making our workplaces safer.